So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys, based on the time zones you all are coming from. So, guys, before we start with the session, can you all please give me a quick confirmation if you all can see my screen and hear me loud and clear as well? Perfect. Thank you for confirmation, everyone. So, my name is Neeraj Kheria, and I've been working in this IT industry for more than 13 years now. So the main agenda for today's session, we are going to discuss on the need of data science, the use cases, what exactly data science is, what are the skills and roles for data science, and then we are going to work on the web scraping with seeing the hands-on. So first of all, if we talk about the need for data science, now data science is one of the most happening domain. Why? Because again, currently each and every industry, they have humongous amount of data with them. When we have humongous amount of data, we do need to do something with that data, because again, until as we are making sense out of that humongous amount of data, we're simply wasting the most valuable resource that we can have for our company. So in terms of data sources, there have been multiple data sources since ages. So earlier we used to have these kind of data sets. For example, we have telephone, desktop, car. Now, right now we see telephone has been converted to smartphones, and smartphones, they have numerous amount of data pointers that needs to be that is getting generated on an exponential manner, because again, currently we have so much of data that gets generated. Now, when we say data, that means all the applications data, all the entire device usage pattern, the entire networking data that is generated and collected by all the telecom companies. And then we have desktops. So again, earlier we used to have a simple plain desktop, and now the entire computing services, they have been moved to cloud solutions. Like we have AWS, Azure, GCP, Oracle Clouds, and again, they are being used for not only for the computation services, but with all the other resources that we need for the application deployment. And that's how they also generate tons of data. And then earlier we used to have completely mechanical cars, and now we have cars those that are fitted with hundreds of sensors. For example, if you talk about BMW i8, it has more than 10,000 sensors installed all over the car to help the entire team keep on optimizing the entire aerodynamics and all the other components of the car itself, right? So that's why, again, with the evolution of technology, we are now receiving more amount of data than ever. Then currently we also have IoT. IoT refers to Internet of Things. Now, when we are talking about IoT, so you must have heard about the concept of smart cities and how data is being integrated from different parts. And now we are making sure that this entire data being generated from multiple sources, right? And even for our home, if you talk about the entire applications of IoT, even in our home, we can see tons of data being generated. So we have data sources coming in from, for example, we can control our entire cooling system. We can control the entire water supply. We can using the entire IoT components, we can control the entire temperature of the home. We can take care of the deployment of the power section. So that means we have multiple components that can be controlled fully by using the components of IoT. And again, they are also continuously generating data. That means now they are generating data on a daily basis or an hourly basis of the usage, which we can use to further optimize the application, not just the application, but also the hardware as well, so that we can get better performance out of it. And then we can reduce the cost that we require in order to run them properly, as one of the multiple use cases that we can have on top of IoT platform, right? And then we have social media. So social media generates more than 13 exabytes of data on a monthly basis. For example, if you talk about Facebook alone generates more than 1 TB of data in every hour. That means now when we talk about 1 TB of data, it includes all the images, all the posts done by the users, including the entire app activities that needs to be stored, that needs to be processed as well. Same way for Twitter. Twitter observes more than 347,000 tweets every minute. Same way for all the other platforms, like we have emails. Now, on average, more than 24 million emails are being sent every minute. And this includes all the promotional emails as well, which are sent by multiple companies to their target audience. And here, Facebook generates more than 4 million likes and more than 200,000 posts worldwide on its entire platform, which is itself a huge number that needs to be processed, that needs to be managed as well. And same way, the other factors, again, we have data coming in from multiple domains, not just from one domain, but data is being generated from multiple domains like insurance, transportation, from banking, finance, media and entertainment, healthcare, education. There are endless number of domains that are continuously generating data that we have to work with. And that's why, because of this enormous amount of data, we do need to have the entire data science domain with us. Now, why we need to perform the data analysis? Because of finding insight, because every company, they need to find insights. Now, when we talk about insights, for example, Amazon needs to understand what exactly is going to happen in the market in next 6 months. That means which category of products are going to be more in demand and how the demand is going to unfold in next 6 months. So how would Amazon know about that? So again, either a panel of experts, they can answer this question based on their own experience, but Amazon cannot invest its hundreds, its millions of dollars on marketing and on stockpiling just on the hypothesis, even that if that hypothesis is coming from the experts. The entire decision has to be backed by the data, because again, there are multiple stakeholders and each and every penny spent and earned counts. So again, here they have to be more careful. And that's where data scientist comes into play. The main role of a data scientist is to simply work on improving the accuracy of the prediction that we have made or we are going to make by using the data set. Because again, if we make the decision just on a random data set without consulting any kind of data scientist, then that is not going to be a good practice, because that won't give us the insight. And again, if we are taking decisions just blindly, just on hypothesis, then the end results are not going to be favorable for our company, right? And same as, suppose Amazon needs to analyze, okay, what exactly, like which kind of products are going to be more in demand in next 6 months. Suppose a brand may be doing really well for now, but again, in next 6 months, is not going to perform well. So it will stop running the ad campaigns on it. It will stop piling up that particular product, and again, it will simply reduce the inventories for it, right? And that's why data science is an integral component for every companies in order to make sure they are able to improvise the entire efficiency with which they are working in any domain, all done by using the components of data science itself. Same way, like for example, now data scientists at Walmart found out that the sales of strawberry Pop Tarts increased by 7 times just before the hurricane, right? Again, this was the insight given to Walmart by their own data scientists, which resulted in a good stockpiling by the company, and that too for Pop Tarts. So they ensured that Pop Tarts doesn't go out of stock, and Pop Tarts were properly stockpiled, and the marketing campaigns for Pop Tarts were also run aggressively to ensure the maximum number of Pop Tarts was sold just before the hurricane. Because just before the hurricane, people like to stockpile the food items, and Pop Tarts was one of the most popular food items to be stockpiled at that point of time, right? And this is what data scientists help the companies in doing that. Same way for social media cake pop-ups, for leveraging the entire social media campaigns and then making decisions on top of it. So what exactly we mean by data science? So data science, again, as the famous proverb goes, torture the data and it will confess to anything, right? And then data science is simply, in simple layman terms, it's used for increasing the accuracy of the model that we create. Data science, in simple layman terms, it's used for increasing the accuracy of the model that we create by using different data pointers. And that's why in the market we have good data scientists and we have bad data scientists. So the success for any data scientist depends upon the accuracy model. That means how much accurate model we can give to the company so that they can improvise the current and future operations. That exactly is what data scientist is all about. And then if you talk about the entire data science life cycle, then we know that again, in terms of data science life cycle, then first of all, we have to understand the business requirement. We have to work on data acquisition, on data processing, on data exploration, modeling, deployment as a part of multiple steps that we have to complete before we can get started working as a data scientist in any company. So first of all, the first step that is common for every company, as a company, we have to work on data acquisition. So based on the business requirement, we have to acquire data from multiple sources. Then we have to work on data pre-processing. So pre-processing involves cleansing of data, or we can say working on data wrangling. So if we have multiple outliers, we have multiple garbage values, we have multiple missing values, we have inconsistent data set. So we have to make sure that these all inconsistencies are removed before we can start working on any data analysis project. That is something that we have to ensure. Now, if you talk about business requirement, we had discussed in business requirement, we have to understand the problem. We have to identify central objectives, identify the variables that needs to be predicted. In data acquisition, we have to work on finding the exact and correct data source. How do we obtain it? How do we store the data parallelly for a much faster processing? Then in data pre-processing, we had to work on removing the missing values, working on outliers removal, on the object detection modeling. And then we had to work on the exploration where we had to understand patterns, retrieve useful insights, and then we had to form the entire hypothesis for the entire development. And then we had to develop the model based on the problem statement. So here we have to determine the optimal data features for machine learning model, create a model that predicts the target most accurately, and evaluate and test the efficiency of the model that we have. And now, if you talk about the entire concept of machine learning, then again, when we are working on the machine learning, okay, machine learning is something that we are going to reserve. Now, first of all, here we can get started with the web scraping. So now when we're talking about web scraping, and web scraping is basically used to collect large information from websites. But why does someone has to collect such large information from websites? To know about this, let's look at the applications of web scraping. So for example, let's say we are doing the web scraping for price comparison. For example, let's say we have services. Now we may have services like we have e-commerce stores, we have multiple services, we have multiple websites that allows us to compare the pricing between multiple vendors, right? So again, for building that kind of price comparison website, we have to work on web scraping. For email address gathering, many companies that use email as a medium for marketing, they use the web scraping to collect email from and then send bulk emails. And then we have social media scraping, where the web scraping is used to collect data from different social media platforms to find out what exactly is trending. And then we have the research and deployment, where web scraping is used to collect large sets of data. That is, we can have data in the format of general information, temperature, statistics from different websites, which can be analyzed, and then they can be used for carrying out the R&Ds as well. And also for job listing, where details regarding the job openings, interviews are collected from multiple websites, and then they are listed to a single place so that we can easily make it available for the job seekers. So that's why we can say web scraping is an automated method which you can use to extract large amount of information from the website. So data which is available on the websites are unstructured, and using web scraping, we can simply collect these unstructured data set and store it in a structured format. And they have different ways to scrap websites, such as online services, APIs. We can write our own code. And in here, we are going to do this, and in this entire module, we are going to see how to implement the web scraping using Python language. Now, there are multiple compliances also available, right? So again, whether web scraping is legal or not, and some websites allow web scraping and some don't. So now to know whether a website allows web scraping or not, we can look into the website's robots.txt file. You can find this by appending robots.txt to the URL. And for this example, we are going to scrap Flipkart's website, and we can use the robots.txt file in the URL to see if the website is going to allow us to scrap data or not. For example, let's say we want to see Flipkart. So now if we see the entire TXT file here, as you can see here, for now currently we are looking at the TXT robots or TXT file for Flipkart. So here we can see what is being allowed by Flipkart and what exactly is not. So again, these all are parameters that are currently being blocked for the SEO. And again, these all are the visited pages here that have been blocked. and the seller pages they are disallowed, and the search pages they have been blocking the temporary hacks, the alliance pages, and they have been disallowing the affiliate widgets, the old browse page experience, and the user agent as a cart, right? So these all things are currently being disallowed from the Google bots. So you can see the report whenever you want by going through that particular section. And Python is the most popular language which we use for web scraping, because Python has multiple inbuilt libraries that already contains the pre-configured methods and all the extensions that we can use directly for getting connected to data set and performing the analysis on top of it. Now to work on web scraping, we are going to use multiple libraries. So now when we are talking about libraries, now we are going to use multiple libraries for it that is used most popularly for web scraping. First of all, we are going to work on Beautiful Soup. So basically, Beautiful Soup is a Python library for pulling data out of HTML and XML files. It provides simple ways of navigating, searching, and modifying all the elements that we need in any website. That's the main purpose of using web scraping. That's the main purpose of using web scraping when we are providing any kind of outline that we want. And then after Beautiful Soup, we are going to work on the request library. Basically, request is a Python library that's used widely for sending and receiving the information over HTTP, because at the end, we are going to scrap the HTTP content only, right? So that's why we are going to use Beautiful Soup, and then we are going to work on these libraries as well as part of the requirement. First of all, before we can get started working for any library, we have to work on importing both the libraries, and then we have to create the request. That means what kind of website we are going to pass. And then by using the Beautiful Soup library, we can use the HTML parser, and then we can pass all the content that we want to see the entire structure that we have passed from the current web page that we defined. All right, so now first of all, let's get started on how we can perform the web scraping. Now for working on Python, we are going to use an ID called as PyCharm. PyCharm is one of the most popular IDs that we use for scraping data from one component to the other. So PyCharm, now we can use the Python IDE as well to get started, but again here we are going to use one ID called as PyCharm. PyCharm is one of the most popular ID that we can use for working on the Python projects. So let's open this up so that we can create one project on top of Python. Now, currently we are working on a project now. This is the PyCharm ID that we are going to work on. So PyCharm is available in both the editions. If you have a requirement to work on core Python, then we can use the community version, which is available for free. And if you want to work on PyCharm along with all the other application integrations, for example, if you want to work on creating a full scale project, that we can work on the professional version, where we'll be getting the access to the entire PyCharm and the integration with all the other languages, like we have JavaScript, HTML, CSS, we can get the full support there. Now, first of all, before we can get started, we have to import the libraries here. Now, first of all, before we can even import libraries, we have to go to File section, and here we have Settings. Now, if we want to work on the libraries, first of all, we have to make sure that the libraries are available for our ID. And then for installation of IDs, here we can go to the project interpreter, and here we can see the list of all the libraries that we have or which we want to use. Now, this is the current interpreter that we have. So you can see the list of all the libraries that we have currently present for this entire ID. And if you want to add more libraries, here we can click on plus. Let's say we want to work on Beautiful Soup. So here we can search for Beautiful Soup. Here we can see the list of library available. And to install the package, here we can click on install package. So this is automatically going to fetch the package from the source, and then this is going to install the package for us depending upon the requirement. Same way as we discussed, we are going to use two different libraries here. We are going to use the library called Beautiful Soup, and then we are going to work on the other library that we discussed, that is request. So we can now, if we want to work on request, so here we can see here we have the access to request library as well. So there are two libraries that we had to install. We had to install request, and then we had to install Beautiful Soup, because these two are something. And we also need to have the library for pandas as well, where we can use it for creating a data frame from the entire data that we are going to install. one by one. So now once we have these libraries installed, now we can get started. So now we can close this up. So now we have Beautiful Soup installed. Same way we can work on installing the request libraries as well, where we are going to use request for fetching the entire URL. So once we are done, now we can start by creating a new project here. So let's say here we can create a new file altogether, a new Python file. Let's name it as web scraping, webscraping.py, because that is what we are going to start with. So first of all, we have to work on importing the libraries as well. For example, let's say we are also going to work on the Selenium script just to make sure we are going to test the entire component, then we can work on importing this Selenium as well. Now, first of all, we are going to see which page we are going to scrap. So let me showcase you the page that we are going to scrap as a part of a hands-on. So we are going to scrap one content section from the e-commerce store known as Flipkart. So let's say we can go to the section for Flipkart, and here we can focus on any other page. For example, let's say we want to scrap the data available on laptops. So let's say we want to scrap the data for all the Core i5 laptops. So here we can choose this category. And this is the page where we are going to scrap the data for the product name, its pricing, its order pricing, and the rating available on these pages. This is what we are going to scrap from the current website. Now here we have to start by importing the entire Selenium library. So here once we are done inspecting the entire page, now we can start by importing Selenium library that we want to work with. So here we can start by from Selenium. So from Selenium, we want to import the WebDriver that we are going to use for Chrome. So here we go to import WebDriver, and then from another library as Beautiful Soup that we have worked on. So from Beautiful Soup that we have imported, so from Beautiful Soup we are going to import it as Beautiful Soup itself. Then we are going to import pandas as PD. Here we're going to import pandas as PD. Then we are going to work on setting up the driver. So here we can set the driver content. So here we can define the driver, which driver we are going to use. Here we are going to use WebDriver for Chrome. Here we're going to use WebDriver from Chrome, and here we can specify the path of Chrome as well. Here we are going to define driver, WebDriver.Chrome. We can use it for Firefox. We can use for Internet Explorer. We can use for Safari as well. So again, we already have the driver installed in our user location, in our default location. That the default location for any driver, it is in user, and then under user path, it is mostly in library, and that too in Chromium browser. So here we have Chromium browser, and then under Chromium browser, we have Chrome driver available as the default location. So this is basically the default location that we can specify here. Now we are going to work on storing the products. So here we are going to refer to here we have to write the code to specify the URL for finding the products, the price, the rating from the given link. So here we are going to find the products, the price, and the rating. So here we can find products. Now we are going to find products list from a specific link that we are going to specify. Same thing we are going to list out for prices. Same way we are going to scrap the ratings also available, and then we are going to use driver.get. Now here we have to specify which particular URL we are going to scrap. So here we can find the anchor tag as 8h reference, and here we have to specify the entire category link. For example, here let's say we want to go to the main category here. For example, let's say laptops. So here under electronics we have laptops. So for laptops, we can refer to the same as flipkart.com/laptops. So this generally takes us to the entire laptops page. As you can see here, so here we can copy the entire link for laptop store. So here it is going to have the entire laptop store as we defined. Now, next we are going to specify the link, that means the actual path of the link. That means suppose this is going to be called as flipkart.com/laptops store, and that's how we are going to specify the here we can close the anchor tag what we have defined. Once we are done specifying the URL, then we have to simply define the content. Now, as we have written the entire code to open the URL, now we can start working on extracting the data from the website. Now, as we discussed earlier, the data that we want to extract is nested in the division tag. That means if we go back to the entire element, so for example, let's say we are going to scrap this data here. For example, if you open up one single category, for example, here we want to inspect on this element. So for inspecting this, we can click on right click as inspect. And here we can see here the entire data. Now, this is the division in which it has been nested, correct? So here we can see which division ID it is currently nested. So currently the division housing the name, it is known as underscore 3WU53N. And the division housing the pricing, it is having a different division, as in a different class defined as 1VC4DE, and the area, or we can say the division housing the rating, that is going to be another div. As you can see here, this is having a different div class. So these all div class we have to refer to when we are actually working on scrapping the content and storing them in the exact attribute, correct? So for that, we have to define the entire script here. So we can come back. So first of all, we can define the content. Now in content, we are going to use the driver, and then we are going to use the page source. Now then for the soup library, here we can use the beautiful soup content. Now content where we have already referred that. Now here we can define for A in soup. For A in soup, we want to find all the elements. We want to find all where the A, now the entire parameter that we are going to define here for A. Okay, this should be in lowercase. So here we are going to find all A where the H reference, again, there should be a link. The H reference should be set to, which value should be set to true. And the attributes for that particular class should be suppose what. So here we can define the attributes. The attributes for the first division should start with where the class name is defined. Now here we can start by defining the entire class name. Let's define the class name here. So again, in a single code, we can define which class is housing that particular, which class is currently housing the current element that we are going to focus on. So first of all, we can refer to the main division. So here we can copy the class here. We can mention the class name here that is currently used in the web page. Now within this main class, now we are going to fetch three different pricing here. We are going to fetch the name, the price, and the rating. For the main class, we are going to fetch three different components: name, price, and the actual rating from the main class. So here we can come back. So now we can define three different components. First of all, we are going to store the name of the product. So here we can define name as equals to a dot find. Now, first of all, we have to find where exactly name is stored. So name is stored in a given division, and the division. Then we had to define the division attributes as in ATTRS, and then the division is stored in basically a class. Division is stored in basically a class, and we have a specific class name defined, correct? We have specific class name defined, so we can define that class name, what exactly it is. We have to come back again. We can right click on the element, and here this class contains the product name. Suppose if we are here, we have this name here. Suppose if you right click on this one, then also the class remains same. That means for the name of the product, the class remains same, right? So here we had to copy this one, and here we can enter the class name that we want to refer to. This will go in a single quote. So this is a class name that we have to refer this in. All right. Now, once we define this class, then we have to define the pricing as well. So here we can define price. So now we are going to store price. Again, we are going to find the value where this one is stored. So again, this one is also stored in a div tag, right? And again, for this div, we also have multiple attributes defined. Now, what are the attributes defined here? We have to define the class, and under class, we can say which class this is going to be referred in. So here we can define colon, not here, but here. So now next we can define which class this is in. So the pricing is available in this class. So we can right click on it. As you can see, for pricing, we have this class defined. Same if we right click here. So you can see the pricing remains active in the class itself. So we have to make sure that we define the correct pricing so that we can fetch the data from that particular class that we are going to refer it from. So here we can copy the class here. We can come back, and this is a class for pricing. And then towards the end, we also want to scrap what? We also want to scrap the ratings. So again, we can define this for ratings. Now, again, we are going to find ratings in the format of division. And then under division, we want to define the attributes. First of all, same concept as class. And then in which class? So again, we can right click on the class section, inspect. So this is the class name that is currently being used for ratings. So you can copy this from here. So here we have the class defined for ratings as well. Here we have class defined for ratings as well. Now there are two different ratings that we have. Suppose if we want to define like how many ratings have been posted, we want to count the number of the ratings here, then we can define the ratings exactly as per the requirement. And now we can use pandas library. So now at the end, once the entire data has been scrapped here, so now at the end, once we have scrapped it, now we have to simply append the name as well. So after this, we can define products dot append, and here we're going to append the name as text. We are going to append the name as in the price. Now, first of all, we are going to append the price as text as well, and then we are going to append the ratings dot append. We are going to convert ratings as a text as well. Now next, at the end, we have to use a data frame. So here we can use data frame as df that we are going to create by using the pandas library. So we are going to use panda to create a data frame as data frame. And now we are going to create a data frame by using what? By using first of all the product name. So here we are going to create here we can have product name defined, product name. Now here the data is going to be saved as products. That is going to be scrapped here. Same way we can define for price. We can define for price, and again for price, what data is going to be stored here as price So here we can define the data as prices. Here we're going to refer to prices that we have created. And at last, we also have to include rating. And then here we are going to work on ratings that we have scrapped. And then we are going to convert this data frame to CSV format. And suppose here we can define to be saved in default folder by the name of products.csv. This is going to be saved in our own project folder, where if we don't want to have any index, we can define index to be true or false depending upon the requirement. Let's keep it the index value to false for now. And then we can, if you want, we can also add encoding as well. We can define UTF-8 to make it universal. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.